situation, though I don't want to criticize all evangelicals.
I just criticize all organized religion, but and a lot of it is, there is something to say about covering sin versus covering a system of sin.
Right.
A system is Satanism, within that gets into structures such as institutions, and it's festering wound, and it grows and grows, sucking people in one after another because of the code of silence, and then eventually it gets so big that no one can withstand it, and it becomes in a way a conformity mechanism for satanic society, which now has grown out of control. And I think that, you can see they're treating this Ted Haggard situation the same way they treated almost identically Mark Foley.
Oh, definitely. There's, first of all, an artificial distancing of the powers that be. In the case of Foley, it was the Speaker of the House of Representatives. He was well aware of the situation in 2001 and did absolutely nothing to curtail Foley's activities. Warning pages and giving, gossip, that's not an effective way to stop a pervert like Foley. What you do with a pervert like Foley is you expose him to the media, or you give him the option of resigning and getting help quietly first. And if they refuse to do that, then you take it up to the media. That's the way it should be done. But our Speaker of the House decided to cover up. But he's a Bilderberger. What do you expect?
Yeah, and who are they? They are enablers. So.
Oh, sure. I mean, I have a whole chapter in Satanic Crime. I cover the Skull and Bones, the Bohemian Grove, and the Bilderberger Group. And the Bilderberger Group, what a lot of people don't realize is that they covered up for a serial pedophile in Belgium, a man named Marc Dutroux, who's currently serving a lengthy sentence in prison in Belgium. But he basically abducted little boys and girls and sold them to elite Bilderberger meetings, which were arranged at various castles throughout Europe. This is all documented by, the BBC and the Telegraph. This is another thing that didn't get a lot of attention over here by the mainstream media. About 350,000 people protested in The Hague in the mid-'90s over the Marc Dutroux case, and it barely got any coverage over here. Now, Marc Dutroux himself claims to be part of an international satanic cabal which kidnaps and rapes children. Now, Judge Jean-Marie Connereau, who originally led the investigation, called for people to come forward, and women came forward. 10 women came forward, in fact, and said they were sexually abused in bizarre rituals by leading Bilderbergers, including King Albert II of Belgium. Now, when this came out in the courtroom, Judge Connereau was removed from the case because he went to a dinner which was run by the victims' families who were having a fundraiser to collect money to hire private investigators to try and search out people who've been kidnapped by the international sex ring. Now, Judge Connereau did not contribute to this organization, but he did receive one free entree dinner at this fundraiser, as I say, which was used to help children. And the King Albert II had him removed from the case altogether. And it was all swept under the rug, and it all quieted it down. But, major figures in European politics were reported to have been at these sex rituals, which were organized at various, as I said, castles throughout Europe. And the man who organized it, the middleman between Dutroux and King Albert and his crowd, a guy named Nuol was just released from prison after a couple of years for good behavior, and he was the chief provider of little boys and girls, primarily girls, preteen girls, to these Bilderberger sex rituals. And this is all covered in Satanic Crime, and I also really want to impress upon people, they're welcome to go to my webpage through your webpage and take a look at my Satanic Crime multimedia page, which is for free, and that has hundreds and hundreds of hours of free documentary films. So if you buy the book and you read the chapter on Charles Manson, you can then go to the Satanic Crime multimedia page and watch a 1-hour documentary on the Manson family hosted by Mike Wallace.
Yeah, no, that's great that you have the multimedia. That means there are interviews there are videos, you can really get up to speed. But you know what they're going to find out is what we already know, Bill, and that is we know that it's overwhelming. We know that the problem is at this point in epidemic and overwhelming proportions, and it all seems to be coming out now, which is something I believe that the real top elites want, not to come clean, but they want to be able to do it in plain sight.
Oh, definitely. They're prepping us for this. Just consider, if you walk into a Blockbuster video, and I want people out there to do this, just walk along the new releases section, which is usually around the wall of Blockbuster Video, and you will be bombarded with satanic, sexual, and violent images.
Exactly.
All of the covers of those DVDs there, you'll be saturated with it. If you cyber surf on your TV, you'll be saturated with occult, satanic, and sexual images. If you cyber surf, you will see a rerun of Bewitched. You will see Sabrina the Teenage Witch. You will see an episode of Charmed. You will see a horror movie. We are, through our media, constantly bombarded with satanic and violent images, and this is by design so that this will just slowly, over time, get us used to Satanism around us. And consider, when I tell people that John Kerry and George Bush, the two candidates for President of the United States in 2004, both nailed down before the devil when they were in the Skull and Bone Society as young men at Yale University. They take their final vows, they kneel before a devil figure. I mean, when I say that to people, it doesn't shock them because they have, slowly over time had this satanic imagery integrated into their minds very subconsciously.
It's mind control. Yeah.
It's a form of mind control, overt mind control. It's not subliminal mind control, it's overt mind control. They bombard you with so many satanic, occult, and violent and sexual images that it just becomes second nature to hear and see about these things, and that numbs us to the fact that the leadership of our country and the people on top of the economic and political power pyramid are involved with satanic organizations like the Skull and Bones, Bohemian Grove, and Bilderbergers. Consider Fred Smith, the founder of Federal Express. Look at how many ads they run per day on television. He is a Skull and Bones member. He kneeled before the devil before he was born. And Federal Express actually gets a huge cut of the international drug industry because international drug dealers ship their drugs through Federal Express and UPS and the U.S. Post Office. So they're actually muling drugs. And people like that, Fred Smith, the networks, he who pays the piper calls the tune. The networks aren't going to put too much on TV exposing the Skull and Bones. They will do some, they'll wean it in there, but they're not going to do anything to make someone like Fred Smith pull all his advertising from a few stations. It's kind of like Tom Cruise, and I'm not crazy about Scientology, but he criticized Big Pharma, the drug industry, and his boss, Sumner Redstone, who owns Paramount Pictures, fired him because Sumner Redstone knew that with all these pharmacy companies giving him money for advertisements on his cable stations, even the most bankable star in the world, Tom Cruise, was not worth losing their advertising money. So you see that it's very common. The powers that be, the people at top of the power pyramid, go well out of their way to put reporting of Satanism and satanic activity on the back burner of reporting, so to speak.
Well, no, they're not allowed.
They could care less.
They're not allowed to report anything about the truth. What they're there for is to, again, mind control the people. Let's take, for example, Bill, the situation of the D.C. sniper case. I don't know if you...
Yeah, I don't cover Malvo in the book, but I'm very familiar with it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you then. Don't you think that it was a psyop to just to kind of keep people in that kind of double-mindedness of accepting something horrible and not do anything about it, really? But
oh yeah, well that's part of weaning. Now, what's very bizarre about the D.C. sniper case? Muhammad, the guy who did the shooting, was in the U.S. military at one time. And there was a bizarre link I discovered in Satanic Crime to the U.S. federal government and a lot of these serial killers. In something like the case of the D.C. sniper, It's definitely, I think he was a kind of programmed assassin who was just put out there, and I call this managed chaos. What the powers that be do is they keep things out there as crazy as possible to keep people distracted from looking at the real truth, which is that the people that run our world are corrupt Satanists.
Right,
I mean, to put it bluntly
they're
and
in
as
a club.
simply as possible.
Yeah, they're in a club, and that club does have supernatural properties. I mean, you know, in the sense that, well, you know, if you've done spiritual warfare and you realize that witchcraft is power, there's a lot of things that are powerful. That's why I always emphasize, you know, to dance with the one who brung you. You know, if the Lord Jesus opened your eyes, if the Holy Spirit opened your eyes, if you became aware of all this through your faith, then by goodness, by God, you should keep that faith alive, because that's where you're going to make a difference. That's where you'll be able to stand on the evil day, as it says in Ephesians. It's really, all this is spiritual warfare in the mind. I mean, to either give in, because a lot of people, Bill, just say, okay, it's overwhelming, I can't fight it, which is what they want, right? And so therefore I'm going to join.
Oh, sure. I mean, the devil's greatest weapon against us at this juncture in history is the promotion of apathy. You know, people just throw their hands up. Well, what can I do about it? And they just go about their business while the people who are on top of the power satanic pyramid structure, you know, rob the poor. If people haven't noticed, there's an economic war against the middle class in the United States now.
Oh, big time.
They're trying to drive the middle class into abject poverty and just have a very small elite with a lot of money. And there's plenty of people they can get to be their servants. And you already have starvation in this country, but you're going to see mass starvation very soon the way things are moving.
Okay, tell us a little more about that, the way they're moving.
Okay, well, when you look at things like the response to Katrina, where the federal government kind of held back rescuing people and bringing aid to the area that was hit, they kind of just backed down, and Barbara Bush even said something like going to the dome there where all the people, the sports dome where all the people had to hide. She said it was like a step up for some of them. That's nonsense. You don't herd people into a big hall like cattle and say it's a step up. So when you see kind of cruel treatment against the population like that, that's really what they're shooting for. And that way they can expand the whole country into one big prison, so to speak. You know, right now, I was walking by a high school last May, and I saw two girls saying goodbye to the security guard who was like, searched them as they went out, and they said, oh, we'll miss you, you know. You're being trained to respect the guy who's treating you like a criminal, taking a thing up to see if you have a bomb or a gun on you, and this is just becoming standard fare. Some, you know, harmless 18-year-old girl gets searched every day, and she's so used to it, she says goodbye to the security guard when she graduates as if the security guard's a librarian who helped them with their work or something. No, this is someone who's treating you like a crook. So when we're moving towards that sort of thing, that our entire country will be one big prison, people like the people in the Katrina zone will be deprived of resources and electricity and power. And as more immigrants flood over the border, and this whole fence thing is a big farce, by the way.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, you have to put a fence on the whole thing or nothing. Half a fence is no good. You just simply walk around it.
Right.
So that's just a big farce. And with all these illegal immigrants flooding in here, they're going to tax our hospitals and our social security system. Many of them are taking more than one identity now, and they, you know, they're collecting on 3 and 4 social security crazy checks. So when you have strains like that on the system, there won't be enough money to go around for, you know, legitimately needful people who need these resources. So that's what we're moving to. It's an entire, as I say, it's to take the middle class of the United States and break it and basically have a sort of corporate feudalism here, where the heads of corporations have their feudal lordships and the rest of us are just serfs under their command.
And then that creates a need for people to join that system with the idea that, well, I can't have a decent life without them.
Well, just consider if you don't have a credit card as we speak, you can't check into a hotel. If you don't have a credit card, you can't rent videos. The system, the economic banking system which they control, is doing away with cash, and pretty soon, if you don't have this virtual money, you won't be able to buy anything. You know, you won't be able to buy a pack of gum. You know, cash will be done away with, and everything will go on this new system. And this is what they're planning. That's the funny thing. As one thing you're really good at pointing out, Zeph, is that these people do this by design. They're getting us used to Satanism by design. They're getting us used to images of people on the TV being deprived and babies being allowed to die in the Katrina catastrophe. So, as you say, they're prepping us for the worst and also promoting this kind of what I call diabolical apathy, which is out there. And that's really their ultimate goal, is to control the economic and political destiny